People drop absolute fortunes to make their daily drivers look cooler, sound much louder, and move a little faster. But sometimes these wild upgrades completely backfire when owners forget how basic physics actually works. Today, we are exposing 55 of the absolute dumbest complaints from people who completely ruined their own expensive rides. From totally exhausted bank accounts to shattered plastic parts, these modifications will leave you speechless. Let us get into the madness. 1. Replacing your standard bright headlights with deep red demon eyes makes your vehicle look incredibly evil in photos. However, an extremely angry owner viciously threatened the installation crew after completely missing a sharp turn on a pitch-black country road. Those aggressively colored bulbs produced absolutely zero usable light, leaving him practically driving blind through the dark woods. Blaming the mechanics because you intentionally chose spooky vibes over actually seeing road hazards is pure madness. 2. Wiring flashing neon underglow and illegal red strobe lights into your front grille practically begs for immediate police attention. A baffled driver filed a formal corporate complaint against an electronics installer after getting a massive ticket on his first night cruising, arguing that the tuning shop should have physically restrained him from buying banned emergency vehicle colors was his actual defense. Getting mad at a mechanic simply because you personally decided to casually impersonate a police cruiser is a brilliantly flawed legal argument. 3. Adding an adjustable air suspension system lets you raise or lower your ride with a simple push of a fancy button. A frantic luxury car owner filed a massive complaint after he accidentally pressed the drop switch while driving over a giant speed bump. Sparks flew everywhere as the bottom of his expensive car violently slammed into the solid concrete. Blaming the manufacturer for putting the control panel too close to his morning coffee cup was his only defense. Pressing random buttons while operating a moving vehicle usually ends in expensive tears. 4. Wrapping your entire sports car in a military-grade camouflage pattern is a remarkably bold choice for regular city driving. An incredibly confused owner actually filed a police report claiming his vehicle was completely stolen from a giant outdoor music festival. Turns out he simply parked his expensive green and brown car next to a large patch of trees and literally lost it for 3 straight hours. Getting mad at the talented vinyl installer because the camouflage wrap actually did its job perfectly is absolute comedy gold. 5. Spraying your taillights with thick black tint definitely gives your ride a very menacing and stealthy appearance at night. A highly offended driver violently threatened to sue the detailing shop after getting severely rear-ended at a dark intersection. He was utterly shocked that the fast-moving driver behind him could not see his dim brake lights shining through 3 thick layers of dark black paint. Paying good money to intentionally hide your glowing safety signals from the rest of the world is a brilliant recipe for total disaster. 6. Going for the stealth look by wrapping every single window in 5% limo tint includes the windshield if you make terrible decisions. A furious driver blamed his tint guy after he slowly backed over his own mailbox and then scraped his bumper on a parked minivan. He complained that the premium tint was a safety hazard because it made nighttime driving literally impossible. He basically paid hundreds of dollars to drive blindfolded and then got mad at the dark. 7. Rigging your entire interior with stadium bright LED strips turns your nighttime commute into a rolling nightclub experience. A totally baffled driver violently complained to an electronics store because he literally could not see the highway through his own windshield. The intense neon glare reflecting off the inside glass completely blinded him every single time he tapped the brakes. Do you think installing blinding distractions inside a moving glass box is actually a smart way to spend your paycheck? 8. Swapping out plush factory leather seats for rigid carbon fiber bucket seats is the ultimate sacrifice for track performance. A middle-aged guy spent $5,000 on a pair of premium racing seats and immediately wrote a scathing email to the manufacturer. His big issue was that the aggressively narrow hip bolsters made his daily drive to the grocery store incredibly uncomfortable for his lower back. Would you trade your physical comfort just to look a little bit cooler at red lights? 9. Swapping your solid steel hood for a completely transparent glass panel is a brilliant way to show off your shiny engine. Yet, a wildly annoyed car enthusiast demanded a refund after realizing that engines actually spit out dirty grease and hot oil. His incredibly expensive clear window turned into a filthy, smeared mess after just one single drive down the highway. Paying thousands of dollars just to constantly scrub road dirt off your engine bay is a fantastic way to waste your weekend. 10. Dropping your car chassis exactly 2 inches off the pavement guarantees you will feel every single pebble on the asphalt. An angry customer returned to the suspension shop demanding they pay for his cracked oil pan. He was absolutely furious that his heavily lowered car could no longer clear the standard speed bumps in his local grocery store parking lot. He spent a fortune modifying his car to scrape the ground and then completely lost his mind when it actually scraped the ground. 11. Spending over $1,000 on a gigantic rear spoiler is supposed to make a regular daily commuter look like a professional race car. One furious driver, however, stormed back to the auto shop demanding a full refund and a massive apology. The giant piece of fiberglass completely blocked his entire rear window, making it impossible to see anyone driving behind him. This genius paid top dollar to ruin his own visibility and then blamed the mechanic for his sudden inability to parallel park. Why do people install upgrades that actively make driving worse? 12. Upgrading to those blindingly bright, high-intensity headlights seems like a brilliant idea if you want to turn the dark night into broad daylight. A frustrated vehicle owner actually filed a formal complaint with the light manufacturer because his evening commute became absolutely miserable. Other drivers kept violently flashing their high beams at him, assuming he was rudely leaving his own brights on. It turns out that burning the retinas of everyone in the opposite lane makes them surprisingly hostile. He expected superhuman night vision without annoying the entire local neighborhood. 13. Gluing a cheap metal whistle inside a tailpipe is the easiest way to fake the sound of a highly expensive sports car. Yet one budget-conscious driver was completely outraged when his cheap plastic modification did not fool a single person. Instead of producing a deep, intimidating roar, his sad little sedan sounded exactly like a screaming tea kettle every time he hit the gas pedal. The furious customer actually threatened to sue the online seller for false advertising. You really cannot buy $1 million supercar sound for just 15 bucks. 14. Covering a brand new car in a sleek, flat black vinyl wrap gives off a very mysterious and stealthy vibe on the streets. An extremely wealthy owner paid thousands for this custom look, only to return a month later completely enraged. The beautiful, dull finish was permanently ruined because he ran the vehicle through a cheap automatic car wash that sprayed shiny liquid wax all over the doors. Blaming the installation crew for his own terrible maintenance choices was his immediate reaction. Have you ever ruined something expensive just by trying to clean it? 15. Jacking your heavy-duty truck a full foot into the air makes you feel completely invincible while cruising down the highway. A frustrated husband aggressively emailed a famous suspension brand because his short wife physically could not climb into the passenger seat anymore. He literally demanded the company invent a magical invisible step because she kept ripping her expensive dresses trying to vault into the tall cabin. Have you ever modified your daily driver so much that your own family simply refused to ride in it? 16. Converting normal car doors to swing straight up into the air is a guaranteed way to grab attention at the local gas station. One guy dropped $3,000 on this flashy upgrade, only to realize his home garage ceiling was way too low. He furiously called the custom shop because he could not actually get out of his vehicle after parking inside his own house. Smashing his expensive new doors against a cheap wooden ceiling beam was apparently the installer's fault. Who actually measures their garage clearance before buying ridiculous vehicle upgrades? 17. Installing an actual locomotive train horn on a tiny hatchback is the ultimate tool for road rage dominance. A deeply irritated driver complained to the installation garage because his new horn was violently terrifying to use. Every single time he pressed the steering wheel in traffic, the deafening blast shook his own teeth and gave him severe panic attacks. The guy specifically asked for the loudest noise legally possible, then got incredibly angry when the sound waves actually reached his own ears. Physics simply does not pick favorites inside closed spaces. 18. Installing massive 15-inch subwoofers in the trunk of a 20-year-old Honda Civic is a classic recipe for disaster. One furious teenager stormed back to the audio installer claiming the bass was defective because it caused his rearview mirror to instantly snap off and his sunroof to leak. He paid for earth-shattering bass, but was completely outraged when his fragile plastic interior actually started shattering. Sound waves carry physical force, and cheap plastic is absolutely no match for it. 19. Swapping out a modern steering wheel for a tiny minimalist racing version strips away all those unnecessary comfort features. One confused owner drove his freshly modified sports car home and immediately threw a wild tantrum over the phone. He was absolutely furious that his cruise control buttons and radio volume switches had magically disappeared during the swap. The shop tried explaining that race cars do not typically need steering wheel volume controls for listening to pop music. Sometimes trying to look like a professional driver means sacrificing your basic modern conveniences. 20. Dropping $2,000 on a custom straight pipe. Exhaust seemed like an alpha move until this guy had to actually drive to work at 6 in the morning. He furiously left a 1-star review for the tuning shop because the noise gave him a raging migraine and his neighbors started throwing garbage at his driveway. He honestly thought the shop could just install a mute button on a straight tube of metal. Do you have that one neighbor with a criminally loud car, or are you that neighbor? Let me know. 21. Replacing your standard factory horn with an electronic system that loudly plays animal noises sounds like a highly entertaining party trick. One utterly mortified driver tried to sue the custom shop after accidentally hitting the steering wheel during a very serious traffic stop. A loud farm animal sound violently blasted directly into the face of an angry police officer, instantly resulting in a massive financial fine. Treating your primary safety alert like a cheap comedy soundboard rarely ends well in the harsh real world. 22. Slapping a cheap plastic steering wheel cover on a luxury vehicle is a remarkably quick way to ruin the premium driving experience. A very angry commuter left a highly offensive review online after parking in the blazing summer sun for 6 straight hours. That shiny fake carbon fiber material literally melted right onto his expensive tailored business suit. Expecting a $20 gas station accessory to possess the heat resistance of aerospace materials is completely wild. Have you ever bought a cheap car modification that you instantly regretted? 23. Ripping out crucial factory exhaust components will definitely make your vehicle scream like an angry beast down the highway. Yet, one budget tuner completely lost his mind when his dashboard suddenly lit up with bright warning symbols. Driving straight back to the shop, the frustrated customer demanded they permanently fix his check engine light for absolutely free. Removing vital emissions equipment naturally triggers computer alerts across the board. Magically expecting a modern computer to simply ignore missing sensors is a hilarious level of pure denial. 24. Paying a professional software tuner to make your exhaust pipe shoot massive fireballs is the ultimate weekend party trick. One extremely angry driver returned to the shop demanding they buy him a brand new rear bumper. The genius was absolutely shocked when those requested 1,000-degree flames completely melted his expensive plastic trim into a black gooey puddle. Ordering a literal fire-breathing dragon and then getting mad when it burns your own castle down is pure peak stupidity. 25. Adding a high-flow blow-off valve gives turbocharged cars that iconic hissing release sound every time you lift off the gas pedal. One highly annoyed owner actually demanded a full refund after experiencing exactly 3 days of daily commuting. The constant sharp sneezing noise radiating from his engine bay gave his golden retriever severe panic attacks during their frequent trips to the dog park. Paying extra money for a highly specific mechanical sound effect and then aggressively hating that exact same noise is completely absurd. 26. A guy spent $4,000 slamming his sedan to the ground with ridiculous negative camber, so the wheels tilted sideways like a stepped-on Hot Wheels toy. 3 weeks later, he demanded a refund from the tire shop because the inside of his premium tires wore down to the metal wires. He genuinely believed that driving on 20% of the tire tread would somehow give him 100% of the lifespan. Gravity and friction simply do not care about your aesthetic. 27. Ripping out your passenger seat to save a little weight makes you look like a highly dedicated street racer. A remarkably upset young man left a terrible online review for a tuning garage after a wildly unsuccessful first date. The poor girl absolutely refused to sit on the bare metal floorboards while he awkwardly drove them to dinner. Ruining your entire romantic life just to make your commuter car slightly faster is a painfully bad decision. Would you ever strip out your interior just to impress strangers? 28. Swapping factory comfort springs for rigid coilovers will definitely make your ride handle tight corners, like a professional go-kart. A furious office worker angrily emailed a famous suspension brand because his morning latte kept violently splashing all over his pristine leather. That stiff ride brutally transferred every microscopic crack in the asphalt straight into his cup holder. 29. Bolting a heavy-duty 5-point racing harness into a daily driver looks incredibly intense and undeniably sporty to passengers. A deeply frustrated guy returned to the tuning garage claiming his seatbelts were completely defective because he could no longer reach the drive-through window. Pinning your shoulders tightly to the bucket seat literally prevents you from leaning forward to grab a greasy bag of fries. Wanting the extreme safety gear of a professional stunt driver without giving up a fast food lifestyle is a hilarious combination. 30. Slapping a massive sponsor decal straight across the top of your windshield tells the entire world you take street racing very seriously. One extremely angry customer stormed right back to the vinyl wrap shop because he could no longer see the overhead traffic lights. That giant sticker blocked a massive third of his glass, forcing him to aggressively lean forward over the steering wheel just to drive without crashing. Why on earth do people prioritize massive window stickers over actually seeing the road in front of them? 31. Putting Lamborghini-style scissor doors on a massive luxury SUV is a fantastic way to burn through your bank account. A deeply offended owner threatened a massive lawsuit against the custom shop because the heavy doors kept violently slamming shut on his leg. Those hydraulic struts are meant for lightweight sports cars, not 300-pound slabs of armored metal. Blaming the mechanic because gravity refused to hold up a literal bank vault is wild. Have you ever seen a car mod that completely defied common sense? 32. Drilling holes into a perfectly good metal hood just to install fake plastic air vents is a tragedy waiting to happen. One furious teenager sent a terrifying email to the parts supplier after an entire winter of heavy snow. Freezing water had freely poured through the useless decorative gaps, completely rusting out his expensive battery terminals. Paying good money to intentionally sabotage your own engine bay for a slightly more aggressive look is a completely ridiculous financial decision. 33. Swapping to a quick-release steering wheel lets you carry your wheel into the grocery store like a high-tech briefcase. However, a panicked driver left a blistering 1-star review for the garage when he actually lost his steering wheel at a local shopping mall. The angry guy demanded they tow his stranded vehicle for free because he left the most important part of his car near the food court. You really cannot blame the installation crew for your terrible memory and poor personal organization. 34. Screwing a foot-long samurai sword handle onto your manual shifter looks incredibly cool until you actually have to change gears quickly. A highly frustrated sports car owner yelled at the parts supplier because the massive weight of the handle kept violently snapping his transmission out of gear. Hitting a tiny pothole would send the giant sword flying backward, accidentally shifting his car into neutral on the busy interstate. Why do people insist on making their daily driving experience actively dangerous? 35. Removing the exhaust filters is a popular trick to squeeze a tiny bit of extra horsepower out of a daily driver. Yet one angry commuter marched right back to the muffler shop demanding financial compensation for his ruined dating life. His expensive custom modification made his entire cabin smell strongly of raw gasoline and toxic fumes. The furious customer genuinely expected the shop to magically filter out the exact smells that he paid them to release. Would you date someone whose car smelled like a gas station? 36. Ripping out factory dashboard buttons to install a massive glowing touchscreen tablet makes the interior look like a modern spaceship. A disgruntled luxury car owner filed a formal complaint with the electronics manufacturer after taking his first nighttime road trip. The gigantic, unadjustable screen practically blinded him, casting an intense blue glow across his entire face like a tanning bed. He paid a premium price to completely destroy his own night vision and then demanded a full refund. 37. Bolting incredibly thick steel sway bars under your vehicle will absolutely stop the body from rolling during sharp corners. A confused minivan owner installed a racing suspension kit and immediately started screaming at the dealership manager. The frantic father claimed the rigid upgrade was dangerously defective because his kids were violently bouncing out of their seats over every single pothole. Installing professional track equipment on a family grocery getter is a fantastic way to scramble your children. 38. Cramming massive 24-inch rims onto a tiny commuter hatchback is a visual choice that brutally defies all basic geometry. A furious teenager complained that his expensive new wheels were violently scraping the metal fenders every single time he turned the steering wheel. Instead of simply buying smaller tires, this genius demanded the shop cut away half of his car body at no extra charge. Paying a literal fortune to intentionally lose the physical ability to steer left or right is a next-level automotive modification. 39. Dropping $3,000 on giant slotted brake rotors and massive colored calipers is a huge flex at the local car meet. A wildly aggressive customer furiously called the brake company claiming they sent him completely defective parts. The actual problem was that he tried to cram those giant racing brakes behind his tiny factory commuter wheels, which physically would not spin anymore. Getting incredibly angry at a manufacturer because solid metal objects cannot occupy the exact same physical space is hilarious. 40. Buying completely bald racing tires for a street car provides insane grip on a perfectly dry and warm racetrack. A terrifyingly confused sports car owner threatened to sue the tire shop after violently sliding into a ditch during a light spring drizzle. He angrily argued that the expensive rubber should somehow know how to channel water without actually having any grooves built into it. Have you ever known someone who bought a dedicated track part without understanding what it actually does? 41. Removing your exterior door handles for that perfectly smooth, futuristic look means relying entirely on an electronic remote key fob. One furious owner threw an absolute fit at the body shop when his car battery naturally died in the middle of a brutal winter. The extremely angry guy was completely locked out of his own vehicle in freezing temperatures with absolutely no physical way to open the doors. Blaming the talented mechanic because you intentionally deleted the only manual way to enter your own car is a very special kind of logic. 42. Upgrading to a heavy-duty. Stage 3's ceramic racing clutch sounds incredibly cool until you get stuck in gridlock traffic on the interstate. One sports car owner posted a massive rant online, complaining that his left leg was experiencing severe muscle cramps and he could barely walk after commuting. He bought a part specifically designed for high-speed track days and was somehow shocked that it made his slow morning commute a painful physical workout. 43. Bolting massive, knobby mud tires onto a brand new luxury pickup truck completely transforms its aggressive stance in the parking lot. Yet one deeply angry commuter marched right into a tire center demanding a full refund because his gas mileage instantly plummeted. The frustrated owner aggressively claimed the heavy off-road rubber made his truck vibrate violently on the smooth highway, while completely draining his wallet at the gas pump. Expecting professional mud bogging equipment to act exactly like an economical hybrid sedan is just completely delusional. 44. Swapping your perfectly round factory steering wheel for a futuristic rectangular yoke makes the interior look exactly like a flying spaceship. A disgruntled driver fiercely complained to the manufacturer after he embarrassingly failed a simple parallel parking maneuver downtown. That completely missing top half of the wheel caused him to violently grab empty air while desperately trying to spin the steering column around. Would you ever sacrifice your basic physical ability to safely steer a vehicle just to feel like a science fiction pilot on your way to work? 45. Sticking a massive plastic hood scoop onto your base model commuter sedan using double-sided tape is the ultimate budget modification. One furious teenager angrily called the online retailer, demanding a brand new windshield after his fake vent violently ripped right off. Cruising down the interstate at 80 miles per hour naturally turned his cheap plastic accessory into a terrifying flying heavy projectile. He honestly believed that basic household adhesive could easily withstand actual hurricane force winds without needing a single solid metal bolt. 46. Chopping the restrictive muffler completely off your daily commuter absolutely guarantees that everyone in the local neighborhood will hear you coming. However, a deeply annoyed music fan demanded the exhaust shop pay for a totally new upgraded audio system. The guy was incredibly angry that his deafening new exhaust tone completely drowned out his favorite quiet podcast during his morning drive. Ordering a literal noise machine and then aggressively complaining that things are suddenly way too loud is a hilariously backward way of thinking. 47. Stretching narrow rubber tires over incredibly wide metal wheels is a popular trend that leaves the metal rim completely exposed to danger. A disgruntled teenager wrote a terrible review for a tire shop after he completely shredded his expensive shiny wheels against a concrete curb. His major complaint was that the shop failed to install an invisible force field to protect his terrible parking decisions. Choosing a style that intentionally removes all the protective rubber means you have to actually steer away from sidewalks. Basic geometry always wins in the end. 48. Lifting a pickup truck by 10 inches might make you feel like the king of the road until you need your morning iced coffee. A furious truck owner tried to sue a suspension shop for negligence after he got his giant vehicle wedged tight under the roof of a fast food drive-through lane. He argued the mechanics should have warned him that adding almost a foot of height would magically make the truck taller. Have you ever seen someone totally misjudge their vehicle height like this? 49. Installing a low-hanging cold air intake is supposed to feed your engine cooler oxygen for maximum street performance. However, one overly confident driver plowed straight through a massive puddle and instantly destroyed his motor. Furious, this guy threatened to sue the local mechanic because absolutely nobody warned him about basic physics. A metal tube pointing directly at the wet ground acts exactly like a giant drinking straw. Blaming the rain for flooding your cylinders is certainly a very creative legal strategy. 50. Swapping your large side mirrors for tiny, aerodynamic carbon fiber fins is strictly supposed to reduce wind drag on the racetrack. A furious sports car owner threw a wild tantrum at the dealership because he physically could not see the massive garbage truck driving right next to him. He practically demanded the mechanic somehow stretch the expensive glass because checking his blind spots became completely impossible. 51. Paying a computer hacker to make your engine shoot incredibly loud, backfire sounds like a great idea for weekend car meets. A deeply embarrassed driver aggressively demanded his money back after offering to give his elderly grandmother a ride to church. The sudden, violent gunshot noises coming from the tailpipe absolutely terrified the poor woman and caused a massive scene in the peaceful parking lot. Spending a small fortune specifically to traumatize your own family members is a truly unforgettable tuning mistake. 52. Upgrading to aggressive racing brakes is specifically meant to stop a speeding vehicle on a dime at the local asphalt track. However, a luxury SUV owner felt utterly disgusted when his expensive new stoppers squeaked loudly at every single neighborhood red light. Yelling at the dealership manager, this guy loudly claimed the premium metallic parts sounded exactly like a dying pig. High-performance friction materials naturally squeal when they are cold. Demanding dead silent stops while running professional racing gear to grab groceries makes zero sense. 53. Wrapping your entire luxury vehicle in premium velvet fabric guarantees everyone will want to touch your ride in the parking lot. However, a deeply outraged owner marched right back to the custom shop demanding thousands of dollars in damages after a heavy spring rainstorm. His incredibly expensive fuzzy exterior soaked up water exactly like a giant sponge, leaving the car smelling like a wet dog for weeks. Mother Nature definitely does not care about your highly questionable automotive fashion choices. 54. Bolting on the absolute loudest straight pipe exhaust available makes ordering late-night fast food a complete nightmare for everyone involved. An incredibly frustrated teenager complained directly to the muffler manufacturer because he practically had to scream out of his own window. That tiny drive-through microphone picked up nothing but the deafening roar of his engine, resulting in 3 completely wrong dinner orders in a single week. Prioritizing ear-splitting noise over getting the correct amount of chicken nuggets is a modern tragedy. 55. Screwing massive metal spikes onto your wheel rims transforms a completely boring family sedan into a terrifying battle wagon. One wildly aggressive customer furiously called the parts website, demanding they cover a sudden hospital visit. This complete genius managed to scrape his own leg against his parked vehicle while simply walking up his own driveway. Buying sharp metal weapons for your tires and then accidentally kicking them yourself is the absolute peak of automotive irony. These 55 complaints basically prove that spending thousands of dollars will absolutely never buy you any common sense. These drivers genuinely expected professional mechanics to magically override the physical laws of nature. Would you like to make any modifications to your car? If so, please share your thoughts in the comments. Hit that subscribe button for more crazy stories, and I will catch you in the next video.